sign into the console. And I'm going to do everything from scratch except for what I didn't mention is we're going to be using a Amazon RDS database instance, and I'm going to be using a Postgres database for this particular example. So let's go ahead and go to Lambda, and let's create a function. We'll name this one YouTube. We'll do it with the U because we're fancy like that. And then let's create the function. And there's a lot of little small things that incorporate into this that make it a bit difficult. But once you get all the little nicks and knacks, it becomes fairly easy to create your Lambda functions. And I'm going to go into everything with detail. I wonder what's going on. User YouTube Lambda already exists. I guess I already named it something. We'll just call this YouTube. Okay, this shouldn't give us any issues. You guys can name it whatever you want. Takes a little while to create the function. A lot of things are going on in the back end. Okay, we've successfully created the function YouTube. And another thing we're going to have to do is upload a layer, which includes our dependencies. I'll talk about that in a bit. But for now, we have to create a trigger. So we're going to go back to AWS services. We're going to go to our API gateway. We're going to create a new API. We're going to make it a REST API. Just build. REST API name, we're going to call this get items. Okay, and for this sample application that we're creating, it's going to be, we'll call it get data. We're going to create a Trello board. For those of you unfamiliar with Trello, it is basically a task board where you could write out your backlog of tasks, what you're going to be doing for the day. Yeah, so we're going to want to create a resource, and we're going to call this resource get data. Okay, and we're going to want to enable API gateway cores. Or we could just take this off and create the resource. Okay, so within this resource, we have to create a method. We're going to call it a get. It's going to be a get method because we want to get the data from our database. And for now, we're going to set it up as a mock. Okay, now that we've done this, we could go to our Lambda function, YouTube, and we can add a trigger, API gateway. Oh wait, we have to do a couple more things. I apologize. Let's go back to our API gateway. And get data. And we're going to do two things. We'll just hook it up to Lambda right now. We're going to use our Lambda function YouTube. Save. Okay. Okay. Saving. Saved it. Now we're going to want to go to get data. We're going to enable cores. It's very important. So now it's going to allow us to access this endpoint. Okay. And now we are going to want to deploy this API. We're going to give it a new stage. We're going to call it YouTube. We're just going to call it Lambda stage test. Now it can be invoked with this URL. We're going to get obviously this because what we haven't done to the end of this URL, we're going to run our get data. Message forbidden. Well, that's fine because we haven't connected our Lambda function to that gateway. So I'm going to go here, API gateway. This shouldn't work. Oh, actually here, there we go. Yeah, I was using the wrong URL. So once we've done all that, we can use this URL to access our Lambda function. Simple as that. And just to show you how it works, the response, this function is going to return a response. And within that response, it's going to, we typically want to be an object with a status code and a body. And this is saying hello from Lambda. We could write hello from Lambda, save it. And we could rerun this. Hello from Lambda. Another thing, we always want to stringify our response because when it comes back, it's gonna be parsed. So we stringify it before it goes in, parse it when it comes out. Okay, so now we've done step one. We've created our Lambda function. We've attached the API gateway, and it responds to a GET request. Now we're going to want to connect to our RDS database. So I'm going to launch my pgadmin. For those of you who don't know what pgadmin is, a management tool for Postgres databases. And it basically allows us to visualize everything we have. And it's really like a nice, it's just a nice visualizer for all our data. So I've created through Amazon RDS. It's really simple. Just go through RDS and create your database, but I've already created mine. We go to DB instances. So after you create it, this should be here. And as you can see, we're given an endpoint in the port. They're also going to prompt you to create a username and a password through the RDS. And that information is all going to be handy. So make sure to write everything down that you put into there. So let's go to my database. Let's do a select. And let's just select star from public -- to do. I think we need to do public. Okay. As you can see here, I've already created two columns, one with ID, which is an integer, and the other one list is an array of values. And these are the tasks that we're going to have. So this could be buy milk, walk the dogs, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to want to, our goal is to render this data on our local host. But we want to render the data through our Lambda function. So let me go back and establish that connection. So we're going to want this endpoint, right? So we're going to have to, let's establish connection, Postgres, Node.js. Connection, Node.js, Node Postgres. You want to go click this link, and right here, you want to copy from here. And we go, we'll just open this in a new tab so we can come back here. Go to Lambda. And we're going to go to YouTube. And we're going to want to change the code in here. So another thing to take note of is this is an async function. So any queries we do, we're going to have to use await. And we don't like error first callback. That's a no-no. It's no fun. No fun. Okay. And let's tell it to select star from to do. And now here, this is where that information I was talking about is going to come in handy. So the user I put is aria cache. The endpoint, which is the host, is where we're going to want to specify. And then the database, I named the same thing. And the password, I just put to this. And the port is the port, which is usually the default port, 5432. I don't think that would ever change for you guys. Okay, and now we don't really need all this data over here. Go put it up there. And over here, we can connect to our pool. We can pull that, and this will return a promise. So then we're going to get a response from our database. And for now, let's just console.log a response. Or you know what? What we can do is, oh, we could do it like this. It'll work. We're going to, in case of an error, we want to console.log that error. We're going to return an object with a status code. Status code of 200. And a body of JSON.stringify. Hello from Lambda. Okay. If we save this, test it out. This is just to create a template sample. It's a template test. It's going to put in the body. We're not really going to use it. We're just going to make it run. Cannot find module PG. Perfect. This is what I wanted to see. So it says we cannot find the module Postgres. That is because we have to upload a layer. As you can see over here, we have no layer. A layer basically allows us to upload dependencies, any node modules that we have that we need to run our code. And in this case, we said require Postgres, right? We said require PG, and it said we can't find PG because the node modules haven't been added. So we're gonna have to go to layers, add a layer, and just click layers again over here in the top left. Press create a layer. And let me give you guys instructions. I'm just gonna put this link instead of making it again. So I'm gonna give you guys this link. It will walk you through creating a layer in detail. But basically we're gonna create a Postgres directory, node Postgres directory, cd into that directory, create a new directory called node.js, cd into that directory, and then in the npm init, this will create a package JSON and our package lock JSON. We're going to keep pressing enter to just keep all the default settings, and then we're going to npm install -- save Postgres. So whenever we require Postgres, it could look at our layers and take that Postgres node module and all the dependencies it needs. So I have already created one. Or wait, I'll go back to my functions, YouTube. I've already created one. So I will just, and I named it ARIA Lambda role. So we'll just use that one. Okay, now we could save. Let's give it another testaroni. Oh, failed. Well, I can't find module Postgres again. Interesting. Oh, because we didn't add the layer. Whoops. Oh, we also have to create a role. I'll walk you guys through that too. I'm sorry, that was a role. Okay, yep. Go to layers, add a layer, name, Node.js Postgres, version 1. Okay, now let's save that again. Test it out. There we go, succeeded. Hello from Lambda. And then this is the console.log response. So now instead of that, instead of just getting this entire response that we get from my database, I just, excuse me, I just want the rows. So we're going to go to our code. And over here, we see we've console.log the response, when in fact, we just want to create a variable called let data, we'll call it data equal an array, because we're getting returned an array of rows. Okay, and over here, we're going to set the body equal to data, but looks like we skipped a step. We forgot to, instead of console.logging our res, we could set data equal to res.rows, right? Okay. Body, this is what we're going to be returning. We're going to be returning an object, the status code of 200, and the body of our stringified data. So let's test this out. Nice. So now we can see we have our stringified data in the body, status code of 200. Perfect. Now, we're also going to need to create a role, and through the AIM management console. If you research a little more, you'll understand why, but I'm just going to teach you guys how to do it, and you guys could research it on your own. So we go to roles, and if you don't have a user, you got to create a user as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to press create role, then you're going to click Lambda, and you go to next. And then over here, for the policies, we're going to want to run this policy. So I have it in my notes. This AWS Lambda VPC access. So yeah, here, I'll leave that in there further so you guys could see. We're going to want to check this box next and go through all the steps, tags, and review. Okay. And once you've done that, you're going to give this role a name. And once you've created that, you could go back to your Lambda function and you could assign that role. And don't forget to press save. Okay. So now we have a beautiful Lambda function. We have our API gateway endpoint to access it. Let's confirm it works. Nice. So look, we got a status code and a body. Let's see if we'll decide to work on Postman. Now let's create our React app. Let's jump around everywhere. For those of you who don't know what Postman is, it allows you to replicate requests such as get, post, delete, push, batch, anything you can think of. You can also include a body for your post requests, etc. Let's send this. Get data. Nice. We got a status code of 200 in our body. Beautiful. Everything's looking nice. So we go to Chrome. Okay. Oh, we don't need to go to Chrome. We could go, now we could start creating our app. Let's make a directory called practice Trello, or we'll call it sample Trello. Sample CD sample Trello. And then now we're going to create a React app, and we'll call it full stack app. Full stack serverless. Cool. Oh, no spaces, no capitalizations. Whoops. So we'll just call it full stack. Who cares? Boom. Okay. Now that we gotta wait for this to load, but in the meantime, we can go to S3 and create ourselves a bucket. So we go to S3 and we press create bucket. We're going to give our bucket a name, so full stack dash bucket. Okay. And we're going to go next. Oh, what about full stack? Nope. Full stack dash aria. Yay. Versioning, server access, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. Just press next. And we're going to want to uncheck this. And this is dangerous because now anyone could access your bucket. So yeah, for those of you watching, don't access my bucket. That's not nice. I'll probably be... And look, as you can see, this one I've already created as public because we have to go edit public access settings and turn that off again. So now everyone can come and put their stuff in my bucket. Okay. Proper static website use this bucket to host a website. We're going to want to tell it to look at the index.html. And once we do this, we are given a endpoint where we could access our website. Okay, use this bucket to host a website, save. And now that's not all, we got more. We got to enter a bucket policy. So we're going to want to search AWS S3 open bucket policy. Using, okay, nope. Okay. Or you know what, I have a good one that will allow us to access everything in my other one. Let's go to Amazon S3, full stack ARIA. Let's go to permissions, bucket policy. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one again. ARIA's test. Permissions, bucket policy. So look, we've usually this is just get objects, but I've changed it to allow everything. Star means everything. And I'm basically telling them they could access whatever they want. We're just going to copy this here. Go back here. Permissions, bucket policy, Command V. And we're going to have to change this to full stack ARIA. Let's save that. Now we can see this bucket has public access. That's what we want. Not really, but for you guys, that's what we want. Okay. So now we can go back to our React app. And this can be a bit ugly. I'm just trying to show you guys how the core functionality works. You guys could worry about styling and stuff. I mean, I'm not going to worry about styling and stuff for this. So let's delete all this. And let's create, let me just import card, button from AntD-design. AntD is basically a styling guideline that is just like, they have templates and stuff that I really like. A little bookmark for their CSS. I gotta import their CSS. There we go. Okay. Let's go to app.css. Okay. Now let's just render a little hello world. Let's start this bad boy up. Looks like we're now in our full stack. Boom, boom, boom. And then we gotta also create, for me, I don't know if you guys have to, but there's always a bug in my Create React app that makes me do this. I'll look into it more to fix it. Probably version of Node is updated or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, we got this, and now we're just going to render a page saying hello. Look at that later when it compiles, and just we'll wait for it. Come on. Do your compiling. There we go. It should be there now. Nice. Okay. So now we can We're going to import Axios as well. So those of you who don't know what Axios is, it's a really simple way of making GET requests, POST requests, and we'll use it for some ease of use, just to show you guys how this works. Okay. And now we can create a use effect, or you know what, let's create a hook where we can get data and set data equals use state. Love how it just automatically imports it. We'll set it to an array because our data is going to come back in the form of an array. And then we can make a use effect. Watch, boom, imported. Coolio now. Use effect. And we're going to have to anonymous callback. And we're going to have to put an array here so it doesn't constantly fetch. Then we can say axios.get. And now we could specify that endpoint that we used before. So over here, we can see that it returns it like this. So we do that. Go back here. And Axios returns a promise. So we're going to say, just like we did in our Lambda function, we're going to do res equals, and for now, let's just console.log the response. And then catch error, console.log the error. All right, so bear with me, guys. This might not work, but it probably will. So run up our app again. Oh, fudge. We don't want to do that. Okay, now let's let it go. Yep, run in another port. Okay, hopefully console will have our data, and then we can create something to display our data. But we need that data first. Yay, we got our data. So it looks like in the response.data.body, it contains our array in a stringified format. So let's go back to our code, and now we know that res.data.body will have our data. So instead of console.logging that data, let's use our set data, and let's put in that json.parse. This might not work as well, but it should. Okay. Oh, I gotta really turn off autosave. Always messes with my compiler. I don't think this is gonna work. Okay. And now we can go, we can map over our data that we created, data.map, and we'll say info, comma, key. And our goal is to return 4. Why is this grayed out? It's kind of alarming. Data is assigned a value, but never used. I'm using it right here, bud. Well, that's quite interesting if you ask me. Okay. Well, I don't think it should be a problem. And we're going to tell this to return a cards component. Don't get confused. This has nothing to do with the cards I imported from Anti. Now over here, we're going to create, in our source directory, we're going to create a new file, new component, if you will, called cards. And we're going to import React from React. And then also, we'll import all this. Okay. And now let's make a function. Let's export it as well. So we have access function cards. And we're going to return, now we're going to return a card with some text. I really don't get why data is not being, I don't know. Let's see. See what we got going on. We got a hello world going on, but that is so weird. That is so weird. This is awkward, guys. I don't know why it's saying hello world. Something's wrong. I'm gonna pause the video and figure out what's going on because this is just really weird. Okay, so yeah, looks like I didn't import it and I just have to recompile it for it to run again. So over here, I still don't get why it's grayed out even though it's working. So we've mapped over our data, and if we remember, our data is going to have, let's go look inside our Postgres. So look, we have 4 IDs with an array attached to each. And our goal is to render this text. So we've returned cards, and in our card component, as we can see, we have some text being rendered. Okay. But instead of some text, we want to render our tasks. So let me just stop this because it's probably just going to break anyway. We have our cards component here, and we want our data. So let's pass in the info as info. So now we have all the data to its respective component, and let's give it a key prop so we don't throw that error. Let's go to props. Let's go here. Let's give it some props. Instead of this, let's return a. And then over here, we can say return a card. And then within each card, we're going to map over or we have an array of data within each card under props.info. What do we call it? We called it list. As we can see here, we've called it list. So it's going to be under the list. And then we're going to map over this data. So now this is what we're going to call. We'll just call this data, or we'll call it words. And we're going to just call this the key. And now we're going to return. Just return in a p tag, paragraph tag with our words. Words. Now let's run it up. Well, that's weird. I don't know how that happened. Computer's being really buggy nowadays. All right. Ooh, there we go. Hello world, bye world. Hi, bye. So let's go over what we did so far. We created a Lambda function that queries our Postgres database through, and we uploaded our Postgres pool and client using our layers. We added an API gateway trigger so we can get data, and we rendered that data using React. Now, I could show you guys how to do a post, but for time constraints, I'm just going to teach you guys how to now host this mini app that we created through S3. So remember, we created that full stack ARIA bucket, and we're going to want to upload things. Now, I could just upload it from here, but that's no fun. We got to learn how to use the CLI. So we can go back to our project, create a new thing, and we're in sample Trello right now. And what we got to do is go into full stack. And now, whenever you use create React app in the package JSON, they create a script for you called build. And if we run this build with this name of in order to run this build, we need to write npm run build, or you could just go from here and press run script. But npm run build. And now if we look over here, get ready, boom, there's a build. This contains all the files. This is a bundled version of our static assets. And we are going to host all these static assets on S3's static website hosting. Remember, we enabled this. So, and we're also given a URL for that. So keep this bucket name in mind, full stack ARIA, because that's the endpoint that we're going to have to use. So now we must go here, right click it, copy the path. And now we do AWS S3 sync. And then in quotations, we specify our local path. And now we're going to do S3 : / our bucket name. So full stack -aria. And if I didn't make any errors here, which I didn't, it's going to upload all of these static assets in the build folder that was created to S3. Isn't that exciting? So we got to do a quick refresh. And as you can see here, we have all our assets. Beautiful. And remember, we told in the static website hosting to look at the index.html. So now, if we go to our properties again, we go to static website hosting and click on the URL they provided for us. Boom, we got our app that we just created, and it is rendering data from our Postgres database. And this is completely serverless. We are using a Lambda function. We're hosting our static assets on S3. And our database is on an RDS instance. So everything is nice and in the cloud. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or want me to teach you guys how to do a post or anything like that, please tell me.